The government has embarked on an unprecedented development agenda to transform our country into a developed nation by the year 2020.
This is the ICT agenda for the country.
ICT presents us with the power and the potential.
Government's ICT enabling program entitled Fast Forward is committed, dynamically aggressive, and visionary.
Under Fast Forward, there's an e-business section and mandate, which is the e-business unit, and through that we created the Roundtable.
The Business Roundtable gave a degree of sight both to the private sector and the public sector.
It has created that awareness of government's many initiatives in the area of ICTs.
Communication between the public and private sectors is crucial to fast forward our country into world-class status.
Trinidad and Tobago today has an economy that is largely driven by oil and gas. In Tobago, it is largely driven by the tourism industry. These are all fickle industries. They are not stable industries. In the case of Trinidad and Tobago, it's based on what we call a wasting asset.
I have gone on record as saying that our country cannot continue to rely solely on the energy sector for robust growth and economic development.
The only key for long-term development is reliance on our intellectual capability, our innate knowledge, abilities, and talents. And one of the key ways of leveraging that is through ICT.
It is with this understanding that the e-business roundtable was formed.
That happened in October of 2006.
And basically, this group was brought together to have some degree of oversight over the Ministry of Public Administration's Fast Forward program. The Roundtable was appointed by the Trinidad and Tobago government, and it consists of a partnership of private sector and public sector representatives. So the private sector representatives come primarily from a variety of chambers like Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industrial and Commerce, AmCham, Bankers Association, a number of private sector bodies. Also on it will be institutions like UTT, representatives from ministries, in particular the Ministry of Public Administration.
What we wanted to do is get a broad section of the business community on board as well. So the various captains of industries, and we wanted to get the people with expertise and networks that would help the message go forward and to bring their message to the table as well, to government. So it's a real exchange and dynamic sort of environment which we wanted to create, which I think we have achieved.
It has been said that government does not share what it's doing readily. And with the roundtable activities that we have planned, we will be going out to, the community. We will be having articles in the newspapers, and therefore I think people will get a better sense of what is taking place with respect to ICT in the country of Trinidad and Tobago.
One of the challenges that you must have is how do you translate the message? How do you, in fact, structure the message in such a way that it could have a positive impact on that market out there? How do you convince a parent who has a choice between buying a fridge and buying a computer, both of them costing about the same thing, that it is better to use the old fridge and buy a new computer than to have a new fridge and no computer?
It is with the help of the private sector on the roundtable that we have been able to start doing that, rolling out the information.
I think one of the big things soon after our formation was the whole telecoms liberalization. People were crying out about price of communication services.
Because it doesn't make sense. Fast forward doesn't make sense. All the talk, we'll have all the computers on our desks, we'll have all the people trained. And if when you have to access the internet, when you have to trade on the computer, you have to pay the outrageous charges that now exist, then it's not worth it.
And those were things that the e-business roundtable looked at.
So yes, I give you the assurance that broadband is key to what we're doing.
Okay, you have a plan that you promulgated that says you want to have 80% of the population having access to broadband in a particular frame of time. What do you mean by broadband?
We have to get cheap, reliable broadband in the country. I don't care how you do it. We have two options. We either create an environment where we could encourage the private sector to do it, or if that is not working, I'm prepared to go to the cabinet and ask for the money to put it in ourselves. And if the government has to do it, the government will do it.
We have encouraged the providers out there to ensure that it is cheap, accessible. We haven't reached there yet, but we are moving towards that.
I would think that the e-business roundtable informed a set of communication, informed some details, informed some time frames.
At the end of the day, the roundtable will ensure that the infrastructure is robust, that each one of us, from the child to the older person, would be able to have access to technology, not just in the urban areas, but also in the rural areas, whatever is needed to ensure that. This is what we try to make happen. For 2020, definitely sound infrastructure and environment.
What we are about today is seeking to lay a platform on which we will grow and develop the local initiative and capabilities that will lead to the long-term transformation of the economy, that will lead us to be able to lay a platform for sustained development and sustained creation of value over the long term. It's a small step today, but it's going to be a big step for Trinidad and Tobago in the years to come.